She tells me, Mommy, if I would have known that I would ever want to live, would I drink and ruin my liver? If I would know that I ever want to have kids, would I smoke and take a Percocet? She goes, I thought maybe I'll live to 19, to 20, 21 the most. I didn't care. She walked 1 o'clock at night in the middle of the road. She was so suicidal, I can't begin to tell you. I didn't expect this, but it doesn't matter because whenever I talk about my daughter, I don't need a paper. I can't write anything down because I could only tell you when it comes from my heart. And I really, really got the fruits of my labor, as you can say, in the last few months, and I'll tell you about that soon. But to start my journey, my daughter was 50 years old, and we didn't know what was wrong with her. We didn't even know anything was wrong with her. I realized the summer before that something was wrong with her because my son got married in Eretz Yisrael, and by every cave that we went, she refused to say Tehillim. And it was odd to me. It wasn't her type. But I thought, you know, she's angry, if she's upset, the trip. I didn't have time. You know, you're going to make chas, you don't have time to really think about it. And then we came home. It was summer. And right after Yom Tovim, it must have been. So I had a phone, and every Shabbos I would close it, and I would put it away. And Motzei Shabbos, my husband and I, we worked together. And my husband kept saying, what's wrong with your phone? It keeps making all these noises. I said, I don't know. You know, I'm not tech savvy. You figure it out. I don't know. And he noticed that there were messages coming into my phone. So what happened was, because it was the time, I guess Hashem decided that I should find out. My daughter was using my phone every Shabbos, but she forgot to sign out from Facebook or one of these things. So she still kept getting messages. And that's how we learned in the office, standing there, that my daughter wasn't keeping Shabbos and that she had connections with who knows who. And our whole world fell apart completely. We had no idea what to do. And you heard from my husband that we had no idea what to do. And we decided, okay, we're not throwing our child out of the house. There's nothing to discuss. Everybody in our block threw the child out of the house. We are not throwing our child out of the house. We'll do whatever it takes. We'll even go to Avi and do all the crazy things he says. And we were very good students, right? We were very, very good students. I can only tell you, we lived on this block, and my husband said how they tortured her. They used to yell at her, shiksa, goita. She did nothing to them. She stayed in the house. She didn't even go out. She was quiet. She never said a word. The parents sent their children to yell after her. And they warned my husband, we're going to make a protest in front of your house. And my husband said, okay, just tell me what time. I'll make sure people come. Like he joked along with her, so they didn't do it. And we decided this is not going to be the right place for my daughter. We had a house. We were just barely middle-class people. We had a house that was fully paid up, Baruch Hashem, and we were finally breathing. We had a tenant who was paying our tax, and we didn't care. We looked for a house that's in a different neighborhood, a welcoming neighborhood. We sold our house. We could not get the type, it's not the kind of house and the type of neighborhood that you were able to get a lot more than what you put into it. It wasn't a house that you know people bought so they could sell it for more money. Let's put it that way. It was tightly, it was really horrible living there, but I wanted to live next to the shul and everything. And then, thanks to my daughter, we got this one-family house, and while we were fixing over the house, because we couldn't just move in like that, she went to live with my oldest daughter. Living is really not the right way to say it. She was depressed. She was in bed. She drank herself to oblivion. She wouldn't shower. She didn't eat normally. She didn't brush her hair. I mean, you're talking about a fanatic when it comes to cleanliness. So it was really, really not her nature. But when a person is that depressed, it is impossible. They don't even remember how you take a shower. It's an impossible task. It's just as hard for them as building a skyscraper. She says she still remembers the paralyzing time when she couldn't stand herself, but she couldn't go into a shower. Then she started taking Percocets. She would snort the Percocet up her nose. We're talking hundreds snorted up her nose every week. I took this girl, I built for her in my house a little like a mini apartment. I told her, I want you in my house next to me. She goes, I'm never going to go up to you. I'm never going to look at you. She was very angry at me at that point. I said, no problem. A lock on the door. As long as I know you have a safe place to live. I made her own kitchen, her own washer and dryer. The bathroom, I must have pulled, because she didn't go out of the house. I must have pulled from different stores at least 15 sets of tiles for the floor, for the wall, for the bottom, till she finally decided on one. She loves orange. You can be sure there was a lot of orange in there. Orange floor, orange half the wall, rest was white, but it happens to be beautiful. I bought her furniture. Stunning how I made that apartment. Let me just tell you, that kitchen became a closet. She cooks upstairs. She's upstairs all the time. She barely even uses her entrance. By today, for sure not. She only uses it for her playgroup. In any case, I'm taking a very long story and making it short, but she couldn't be my daughter anymore. My daughter was petrified of handling her. She was in very, very, very bad shape. And she moved into my house. That picked her up a little bit. You know, Hashem orchestrates everything. It should be the right way. And I told her, I kept telling it to her. I said, why do you need to go work for somebody else? You could do this on your own. And she said, no, nobody's going to send to me. I said, try it. It doesn't work. We could always stop. And I took my house. Now, if I tell you a little bit about me, I was such an OCD with cleanliness. Everything had to be perfect and spotless. Plus, I couldn't handle a baby crying. Ever. My babies were not allowed to cry. That's it. In my hand, even if it was all night. And I offered for my daughter, who I knew cannot handle it on her own, she's going to need all of my help, that she should open a babysitting service in my house. And I knew that once she does that, trust me, I wasn't thinking about clapping at that time. I was just thinking she should stay alive long enough. She should just stay alive. Every day I kept saying, Avi, I don't think she's surviving. I don't think she's surviving. I don't think she's surviving. And we opened it up. And Baruch Hashem, started with 1, and then 2, and very quickly she had 7. She is, if I would be prepared and I have the time, I would show you the hundreds of pictures she sends the mothers during the day. They should see what she does and how the child is and who the child is. I can't tell you. It doesn't exist. She is so alive. She sits on the floor with them. She loves them. She loves them like more than mothers could love children. I'm honest. You can't imagine. I have the camera downstairs. I put it in there so I could see my children play in the playroom. So I see how she sings with them, talks with them, and the love. The kids love them, love them. And I want you to know, in the beginning, she wouldn't mention a thing for Yiddishkeit if you would have paid her. She was so angry, nothing. Let me tell you, by now, every Yom Tov is celebrated. She sings Yiddish songs with them. This is just to tell you that, to show the growth in all these years. But she became alive. She felt that she could do it. I'm worth something. I could do this. And very slowly she decided, it took a few years, and probably $200,000. She told me now, because she's dying to buy a house, she said, Ma, imagine if I would have all that Percocet money. It was at least $200,000. I would have had a down payment for a house, and I could have whichever house I want. Her boyfriend moved in, and I want you to know, those of you that are scared that your kid should get a boyfriend or a girlfriend, first of all, then they don't have other people. My daughter did not ever run around or play around, because her boyfriend was allowed and welcome in my house. After a few years, they became engaged. But I can only tell you, when she decided, I want to be clean, she says, Mommy, will you help me? I could have gotten rehab for her for free. My husband has friends all over. We paid a fortune for 8 days. She said, I don't need a rehab. I have my parents. I have my siblings. I have my home. I just need detox. She came back 8 days later. And we were all there for her, and she is clean. Baruch Hashem. That's because she knew I don't want to just make myself big, because it's not my credit. My credit is that he held our hands every tiny step of the way. Every breath we took was Avi, 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 Avi. We really, in our house, even my mother knows, oh, you're going to Avi? Okay. Baruch Hashem, This past summer, she had a kosher wedding, Chippik edition, with all the trimmings. And she said, this is what she said to us. She said, Tati and Mommy, you let me live the life I want to live. What if my children want to be very frum? Then I want to have a kosher wedding. And when I have children, I make sure they'll be kosher children. And I'll be okay with it if they want to be very frum. I want to be like all of you. But I'm just going to tell you that this drunk, Percocet snorting, smoking. She stopped smoking also a long time ago. She never smoked while she was around the children, but she completely stopped smoking. She's vaping, but she's working on stopping that too. She became so emotionally healthy. I can't begin to tell you what a darling, delicious girl she is. I mean, she was a darling, delicious girl till she fell apart. And we saw pain, but we didn't. Now we see that we saw pain there. You know, she was quiet. What she does to the family, the life she gives, and what she did, our family became one. Let me tell you, one Purim, in the beginning, she decided we need, when Purim comes, Purim was a serious thing by us. Everybody got dressed, but not my husband and I, and there was no theme and anything. It was a proper Suda. No, she wants a theme and everybody should get dressed. So we all got dressed exactly. She chose it every year. She chose exactly what the costumes should be. I have a shed full of costumes. But she wanted to test my husband. So she went and she took nail polish. Remember that, Avi? She put yellow on one finger and orange and I don't know. And she wanted to see what my husband's going to do. And my husband said, I'm going to go with this proudly to Vizhnit Shul. You know what Vizhnit Shul is on Purim? This is how he went to the mikveh. This is how he went to Shul. It was Erev Shabbos. He did not take it off. Shoshan Purim is his birthday. He did not take it off till after his birthday because my Eti did it for me. He walked around with Eti like this when it wasn't the style. Today it's the style because unfortunately so many off the derech children. He walked into Rockland Kosher. Evergreen is already stepped down. Yeah. Rockland Kosher. Rockland Kosher is the ultra of the ultra that you have lined up taxis because the women don't drive. Okay, so if the women don't drive, you can imagine what they look like. She was barely wearing clothing. And his arm was around her, and he went to the ice cream store, and then he went to the grocery, and she went to a different aisle to take something and yelled, Tati, or Ta, she said then. Everybody knew exactly who it was. And he with a smile, hand around her. For me, it wasn't such a big deal. It's a woman. But a Hasidic man, I can't begin to tell you, he would stand outside when all the men for visions were coming home from shul, and he would walk on KESHER Terrace. I don't know how to explain it to you, okay? Those of you that are not from a very Hasidic town. So there are 300 Shramlich walking around, and half of them are so ultra, they wouldn't even look at me, and my husband is parading around with this barely dressed girl. And it was like quiet. Some had said, who is this? What do you mean? This is my daughter. You had one major story when you said it's my daughter, but I can't remember it. We have so many good stories with her. We forgot. That area we forgot. We live in a wonderful street. The parents, everybody there, they greet her. They talk nicely to her. And when she goes out, we bought her this huge red carriage that she could put 6 children in it. She goes out. She feels like $1 million to this day. Every day she goes out twice a day. There's a little grocery. He gives something to each of the children. She talks to him. But let me tell you, what she does for the family. I could go on and on what she does to the family and how my children became because of her. But we had a very big tragedy recently. My almost 12-year-old Einikl, right before in March, end of February, literally from one second to the next, he had sounded like a little virus, and he went into cardiac arrest. And they got him back. He went to the hospital. They quickly took him to the hospital, went into cardiac arrest again. And then they realized there's something wrong in his abdomen. They took him in emergency surgery. And they said his gut twisted. And that caused the cardiac arrest. But they saved his gut, but they have to see if they could save his brain. And unfortunately, the next day they already saw that, Well, the second my son called up crying that my Einickel's in cardiac arrest, I got into a car and I drove. Etty told all the mothers, I'm very sorry. She got into a car with her husband and drove up to Montreal. I stayed in the hospital. I took care of my son and his wife, and I stood there and I made his payas, and we had to speak to him just to keep my son. I knew that this child was brain dead. I saw from the nurses, I understood all the language. He didn't even hear what they were telling him. They had to keep telling him, but they didn't. Baruch Hashem, they were very cooperative. They did not connect anything until he never passed away 2 weeks later. But what Etty did, she made sure we lived in an apartment. We took out an apartment, and because all my sons took chances, everybody just slept in whichever bed, and they just threw their laundry. She made sure the laundry was washed. She made sure to run to the grocery and to go to the dollar store and to buy little buckets and to fill it up with candies and chocolates and bring it to me. And Mommy, what do you need? Let me take this home to wash, and let me bring this back. And she took Shragi's. She was the one that kept it going. And she went to a store. And she said, I want to cover my hair as a schus for my nephew that's very, very sick. And that lady was very nice to her, and she covered her hair. She came every day with a tichel on her hair, as sneezed dressed as she could. Nobody asked her a thing. But I cannot tell you how Etty kept the whole family together and going. She was the one that updated everybody. She was the one that stood there with a smile and drove everybody. She was the rock. Where did she get this? Where did she get this confidence? She got this confidence because I gave her confidence when I opened up that kindergarten for her and showed her she can do it. Even my cleaning lady was with me. My cleaning lady is Spanish. She's very religious and she's very family oriented. And she kept saying, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it. And every time she would see me daven, she would say, I wish you can get me that prayer book in Spanish because I see that it helps you. When she got married, she bought for Pretty didn't bring it. She bought for me a white tichel, which I wear on Friday night. And she took my white tichel. My mother bought her 2 candlesticks, which once she said she'll never, ever, I should never buy it for her. She allowed my mother to buy it for her. And by Shabbos Sheva Brachos, she lit candles by where we had the Shabbos Sheva Brachos. My mother was brought with a wheelchair, so my mother could see her. She said, your mother will be much happier if I put on a white tichel. So she took my old one, because she bought me a new one. She put it on and bench left like that. Tell me which kip would do this for a grandmother. Only a kip that was shown so much love by that grandmother. And she knew that that grandmother loves her no matter how she's dressed, would make sure to be dressed the way she was dressed, beautifully tzniizdik. And then she put on that white tichel. My daughter just got married. My grandson died, and right after my daughter got married, this was Erev Pesach, and she took a different daughter. Yeah, of course, a different daughter. My younger daughter. The daughter that everybody was worried about, that she's going to go off because she has such a sister, is a daughter that, I don't want to talk, but Baruch Hashem for every mother, Vincent, such a daughter, such emotion, such feeling for other people. I can't begin to tell you, but she's a different story.
Yeah, she was 9 years old when you came.
Yeah, you remember? She was 8 years old, and Avi at 8.
9.
She was 9 already?
Don't argue with me.
I know, you're always right. I don't have a good memory.
9.
Avi asked her a question. What did you ask her? She says, you're not jealous of your sister? She's getting all these things. You know what she answered? No, she's not happy. I don't want to be like her. I can tell you she had very hard times. We lived in a new street, and her friends came over to visit her. And my daughter went out with her car keys and opened up the car and said, hi, Rizy, these are your friends. What are your names? Oh, that's so nice. And then she went into her car and drove away. My daughter said she wanted the ground to open up, but she treated her sister like we taught her to treat her sister. And she says, you know, Mommy, you were right. The girls were fine with it because they took the cue from me. And I always told it to her, they'll take the cue from you. If you're calm about it, they'll be calm about it. And they just spoke openly and they said, oh, wow, she lives in your house. Wow. Now they're finally thinking that maybe because she was able to put away money. She says, I was able to put away money, Mommy, because you let me stay in this house. And now they're looking for a house. I can't. Okay, so my husband says I should finish. So where should I finish with? How she acted now. We were there, Shavuos, and how she acted, again, put on her tichel all over. She is emotionally 99% healthy, and she tells me...
More than most of us.
Yeah. Really. She goes for therapy. She has a therapist. It's a Heimische woman from Williamsburg. I'll never understand it, but she felt comfortable with this therapist after she tried out, I don't know how many. So she has her therapy place, she has her minded place, but she tells me, Mommy, if I would have known that I would ever want to live, would I drink and ruin my liver? If I would know that I ever want to have kids, would I smoke and take Percocet? She goes, I thought maybe I'll live to 19, to 20, 21 the most. I didn't care. She walked 1 o'clock at night in the middle of the road. She wanted to see. She wanted to prove. I don't know what to whom. That she could kill herself? I don't know. She was so suicidal, I can't begin to tell you. And today we have this delicious, smiling, healthy, yummy mother with a thriving business. She has such a business that if you want your baby in her babysitting group, then you have to call her as soon as that EPT is positive. Literally, that's what the mothers do. She thanked us for going to Avi and sent other parents to go to Avi. So thank you for listening. I wish you could meet her.